Carol Ofori, East Coast Radio.
Who's that girl? We do this every Wednesday where we profile women doing unbelievable, amazing things in different industries, different communities, and of course, different spaces. Today's no different. Adheema Davis is in the building. She's an architect, she's an academic, she's an entrepreneur, and a wellness advocate, and somehow she makes it all look so effortless. Adheema Davis is a woman who truly wears many hats and wears them so beautifully. Professionally trained architect, Adheema has made her mark in both practice and academia, shaping spaces and inspiring young designers along the way. Now, as co-director at Auta Architecture and founder of Moon Chocolates, South Africa's first seed cycling company, she's proving that creativity, purpose, and passion can all coexist. Adheema, welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you. Where do we even begin? You started as an architect, you studied that.
Yeah.
Got a lot of awards doing that. And then you're now creating these chocolates that are hormonal chocolates?
Yep.
Okay, wait, let's start first. Architecture. It's a very boys' side of things.
Sure.
When you think an architect, a lot of moms are pressuring their boys to do that.
Yeah.
And today you've done it. Tell us about that journey, how you landed there.
So I think I was one of those kids who always knew what they wanted to do when they were in school, and that's largely to do with my dad. So my father, who's late now, my father and his brothers and my grandfather, obviously in South Africa during apartheid, didn't have the opportunity to go on to tertiary education as people who were racialized as colored to study architecture.
Right.
And so they were all master craftsmen and builders. And so I grew up going to daycare on building sites rather than, because both my parents worked, rather than going to daycare, I was on construction sites. So from a very early age, I was aware of what all of this stuff was. And I think I was just a curious child who just wanted to always know and understand things. And so when people said, would you like to do this? Yes. And I needed to know everything about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So there you are in this architecture world, and then you pivot into these one-of-a-kind chocolates.
Yeah.
Moon chocolates.
Yeah.
Let's get into what Moon Chocolates is and how did you decide this is where you're going?
Sure. So, architecture is still a huge part of my life, and I think, like I said, I was always really curious as a child and as a person. There's an Islamic adage about seeking knowledge from cradle to the grave, which I think lots of people are familiar with, and I'm one of those people. I will read and absorb everything.
Right.
I went through a really stressful time in my career because I was one of those high achievers from very early on. Right. So I went to school really early. I was an early reader. I think my mum was just tired of me asking too many questions, and so I was in class 1 when I was 4. And so I was always wanting to seek and know more. And I think I reached a stage in my mid-30s, which has just passed now, but I reached the stage where I thought I have spent my entire life chasing achievements, and I'm recognizing that this is not the pace that I want the rest of my life to go. And what is this? And of course, there were a whole lot of good and bad things that happened environmentally around that situation. One of those were workplace bullying and harassment. And you mentioned it earlier, just the exhaustion of being the first, the first woman, the first this, the first that in an institution, in a professional environment, and it was just too much. And so I needed to pause, and the way that I paused was regaining agency over my life through my health and wellness. And I stumbled upon these ideas around Moon Chocolates, and when I started guinea pigging them for myself and my friends, they were like, no girl, this is something, you need to go for this. And I have always loved delicious things. We have always grown up having something sweet, even just a spoon of jam at home. And so chocolate was a no-brainer for our health. I needed to take this to other people. It's it's a fascinating journey for me.
Right. Now tell us, what exactly is Moon Chocolates and why should every woman have it?
Sure. So Moon Chocolates is a range, and it's more than a range. It's a feeling, like I said, of regaining agency over your health.
Yes.
But it's a range around 2 core concepts, around seed cycling and dark chocolate as being good for you. And so they're high nutrient value, no sugar, no preservatives, none of the nasties, like I say. And this idea is around using these little small consistent additions to our everyday life into making us feel better. And so seed cycling is a combination of seeds that you take every day, different phases of your menstrual cycle that can overcome and eliminate nasty PMS symptoms, PCOS, endometriosis, menopausal symptoms, so that we as women can fully embrace these different seasons and cycles of our lives and come into fullness and wellness through them. And so the dark chocolate is an amazing source of magnesium, an amazing source of iron, and I load them with superfoods so that we're getting all the nutrient benefit that we need one decadent mouthful at a time.
That is insane, because I think a lot of us women only really start understanding, and I mean the cusp of it, our bodies, as we start leaving the 30s and walking into the 40s, which is, by then, like, so much has gone on that you cannot explain, that only you start having the language for it in your 40s.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful that we can walk this journey via something so delicious that will help us navigate our hormones, because sometimes you think you're just angry, you're moody, you think it's just who you are, but it's the hormonal situation.
Exactly. And I mean, men and women are designed completely differently. You know, I mean, men have a 24-hour cycle, we have a 28-day cycle.
That's wild.
And so across the period of 28 days, we are dealing with the complexities of life. And so, I mean, I remember this little line that, you know, men have the emotional capacity of a teaspoon.
Okay, unpack that.
This idea that they move through it so quickly that they're unaware of what it means to really sit in their emotions. Whereas as women, our bodies and our hormonal cycles cause us and kind of force us to seize and embrace different emotionalities. And I think that I've always been, like I said, in my profession, always been called like a troublemaker at the table, because, you know, you can't be the angry young black woman. You know, it's such a trope, and I just think that that's such rubbish. You know, because actually anger is a constructive emotion. All of our emotions are constructive. How do we really lean into them and build compassion and consciousness through them? And that for me is the real path to liberation, not just for us and our well-being, but what does it mean when we fully embrace ourselves, when we're more compassionate to people around us, particularly as women, because I think we give each other a very hard time. You know, like we do it brutally just out of necessity for survival in this kind of capitalist environment that's structured around men's 24-hour cycle. You know, if I'm in my feelings and if I'm moving around with my hot water bottle, as I do around that time of the month, you know, and like everybody sort of laughs and like, you know, let alone talk about it, you make it so visible. I'm like, well, it's happening, you know, it's happening. I might as well move through it. You need to understand what I'm going through so that you know where to meet me. And I think that that's a big part of it, is actually we can't keep pushing ourselves to the point of burnout and only realize that when we're at that cusp, as you say, of what have I sacrificed? And, you know, I'm starting to live my life in reflection. No, we need to know early on. And so I want to use this. I want to use Moon really as a way to conscientize women, young women especially, to know that there is a way that you can feel better through this. There is a way that you can live authentically through this, and there is a way that you can embrace life in all of the seasons.
Moon Chocolates is her, I would say, passion and amazing business that's for women. And you've brought me some of your beautiful Moon Chocolates, and you were explaining to me, like, the one says phase 1 seed and chocolate moon truffles, and then the next one says phase 2 seed and chocolate moon truffles. If you had to unpack this, like Andile was saying off air, that you literally explained this in 1 minute, how would you explain it?
So a really simple idea is that a woman's body, I mentioned earlier, that 28-day cycle that's governed by your hormones. If you imagine 4 seasons, and so we have an inner winter, inner spring, inner summer, and inner autumn or inner fall. And so the winter would be when you are menstruating, then when you are preparing a new egg, when you're ovulating, and then in that luteal phase where there's a bit of a decline. And so that's the kind of fall season, right? So it covers those 4 seasons. The phases of the seed cycling as a principle is basically compacting those into 2 sections. Phase 1 is around your menstrual and your follicular phase of your menstrual cycle as a whole. And then phase 2 is that ovulatory and that luteal phase. And so the different seeds at different times are going to assess your hormonal levels, support hormonal balance, support your gut, support detox, support cognitive health. And so it allows you to have delicious treats that are also giving you what you need to embrace that, like I mentioned earlier, keep saying, embracing these cycles and seasons of your life.
So for many women, this is all a lot of jargon.
Yes.
And it's all like, wow, I've always known we are complicated, but now this makes it so much easier.
Sure.
Where do we find Moon Chocolates? And then we can read up with you on the site or on Instagram.
Yes.
Where can we find you?
So I have a website, www.moonchocs.co.za.
Moonchocs, yes.
Moonchocs. So moon, like the moon in the sky, CHOCS.co.za, where you can read all about these core concepts of the information, get to know me and my story as to why, because I think it's really important. I'm not here trying to sell you something. I'm trying to get you to understand that there is a simple way that you can take take agency, listen to your body exactly, understand it, listen to it, and thrive. And then you can have a view at all of the products. So there's the seed cycling products, the dark chocolate products, and the maca drink. Everything's available on my website, so you can order online, and I courier nationwide.
I love this. And you know what it is, like you're saying, it's about knowing your body, because sometimes we get so frustrated with ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, your body's asking you to do something. You don't want to do it because you are going through, maybe you're fasting and you want to be intermittent, or you are not staying away from this food or staying away from that because you've got reasons mentally for it.
Yeah.
But your body's talking something else, and you completely negate even listening because you don't understand it. And it's so important that as women, we take a moment to understand our bodies. They talk to us every day, every waking moment. And the more we understand it, the more we can be in sync. Yes, in sync. Now, advice. You are an architect by profession. You've obviously constructed these beautiful chocolates using your architecture brain. But what is your advice for women or people listening right now who want to pivot? You are known to be a CA, but you really have a passion for making donuts.
Yeah. So I always say, and like, you know, when we do these introductions and things, I always say that I am trained as an architect because my profession doesn't define me. And I think particularly as women, but more so as human beings, we are all multifaceted. And I really want to lean into that, embracing the authenticity of who we are. So yes, I'm trained as an architect. I can be a real hard liner on construction sites. I know what I'm doing when I'm in my office, but there's a softer side where I love to bake. I love to be in my garden. I love to have natural things. I love to sit and chat with my girlfriends. I love to be loving with my family and my partner. And I love delicious things, you know. And so all of these things can coexist. They can and they do. And I think that our rat race and this idea that we have in our head of subscribing to the way the world is and has been puts us into a predicament where we feel we can only do one thing and that we're too afraid to take the risk to jump. And I'm not going to say that, you know, I had a backfall about this. I just took the risk because I felt like I needed to at that time in my life. I needed to pivot because it was the only way that I could be true to myself.
Wow. It was the only way that you could be true to yourself. That is so powerful. Adheema Davis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moon Chocks on social media, moonchocks.co.za, nationwide delivery. I'm lucky. I've got a whole box to get me started. And now I won't be shouting at people at home unnecessarily and screaming and crying.
The sealing bags are just a suggestion. So once it's opened, you know, you do you, Carol.
I do me. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Adheema Davis, everybody, thank you so much for coming through. All the best. Ladies, go check out these chocks. They are going to change your life.
Carol Ofori, KZN's #1 hit music station, East Coast Radio.